Have you ever woken up to a morning that feels heavier than the last? The weight of yesterday's worries clings to your chest like a damp fog, and the day ahead looms like an uncharted mountain. Maybe your heart aches with unspoken fears, or perhaps the silence of the dawn feels louder than any noise. In those fragile, fleeting moments before the world rushes in, there's a choice, a quiet, tender invitation. 5 minutes of prayer. It doesn't sound like much, does it? 5 minutes. A mere whisper of time in the grand symphony of your day. But oh, what a miracle those 5 minutes can weave into the fabric of your soul. This isn't just a routine or a fleeting ritual. It's a lifeline, a sacred bridge between your weary heart and the one who holds the stars in place. It's the moment you step into the presence of God, not with grand words or perfect posture, but with the raw, beautiful honesty of who you are. Imagine this. The sun is just beginning to peek through your window, painting the room in soft hues of gold and gray. Your eyes are still heavy, your spirit perhaps bruised by the battles of yesterday, but in that stillness you whisper, "Lord, I'm here." And something shifts. It's not loud or dramatic, it's gentle, like a breeze kissing the leaves. You feel it deep within. You are not alone. That's the miracle of prayer. In just 5 minutes, you trade the chaos of your mind for the peace of His presence. I know what you might be thinking. 5 minutes? How can that change anything? My problems are too big, my heart too tired, my faith too shaky. Oh, dear friend, I've been there too. I've stood in the ashes of my own doubts, wondering if God could still hear me through the noise of my fears. But here's the truth that carried me through. Prayer isn't about the length of time. It's about the depth of trust. It's not about having all the answers. It's about leaning into the one who does. Think about the woman who reached for the hem of Jesus' robe in a crowded street. She didn't have hours to plead her case or a grand speech to offer. She had a moment, a fleeting, desperate grasp of faith. And in that moment, everything changed. Healing flowed, hope returned. That's what your 5 minutes can be. A reach, a touch, a surrender. It's not the clock that matters, it's the heart behind it. So why the morning? Why those first 5 minutes of your day? Because the dawn is a canvas, untouched and brimming with possibility. Before the emails flood in, before the demands of life pull you in a dozen directions, those 5 minutes are yours and His. It's a sacred space where you can lay every burden at His feet and say, "Lord, I can't carry this alone." And He answers, not with thunder or fanfare, but with a love so steady it anchors you through the storm. Picture it now, you sitting with a cup of coffee growing cold, or maybe still tangled in your blankets, eyes closed, heart open. You don't need fancy words, just the ones that spill from your soul. God, I'm scared. Lord, I need strength. Father, thank you for this new day. And as those words rise, something holy happens. The weight lifts, even just a little. The fog clears, even just enough to see the next step, the miracle. A quiet, unshakable assurance that you are seen, you are heard, you are loved. This isn't about perfection. You don't have to have it all together to pray. In fact, the most beautiful prayers often come from the messiest places, when your voice trembles, when your tears fall, when you don't even know what to say. God hears. He doesn't need you to be strong. He just needs you to be there. 5 minutes of showing up, of trusting, of letting go. 5 minutes that remind you, no matter what this day holds, you're not walking into it alone. So take a deep breath right now as you read this. Feel the air fill your lungs, a gift from the one who breathed life into you. Let that breath be your first prayer today. A silent thank for the chance to begin again. Because that's what those 5 minutes offer: a beginning, a reset, a miracle disguised as a moment. You've taken that first step. You've whispered your heart into those 5 minutes, and maybe, just maybe, you've felt the stirrings of something new, a flicker of hope, a whisper of peace. But what happens next? What makes these fleeting moments more than just a morning habit? The answer lies in a word that's both simple and profound: surrender. Surrender doesn't come naturally, does it? We're wired to hold on, to grip our worries like lifelines, to clutch our plans as if they're the only things keeping us afloat. But in those 5 minutes of prayer, God invites you to do something radical: let go. Not because He wants you empty, but because He longs to fill you with something greater: His strength, His peace, His love. Picture yourself standing at the edge of a vast ocean. The waves crash against the shore, relentless and wild, much like the storms that rage in your life. You could fight them, flailing against the tide, exhausting yourself in a battle you were never meant to win alone. Or you could open your hands, lift your eyes, and say, "Lord, I trust you with this." That's what your 5 minutes become: a sacred surrender, a moment where you hand over the weight you've carried far too long. I remember a morning not so long ago when I woke up drowning in my own fears. The bills were piling up, the future felt uncertain, and my heart was a tangled mess of what-ifs. I sat there, staring at the ceiling, feeling like the world was pressing down on me. But then I prayed. 5 shaky, tear-streaked minutes. God, I don't know how to fix this. I don't even know where to start, but I'm giving it to you. And in that surrender, something broke free. Not the problems. They didn't vanish, but the chains around my spirit. I felt lighter, not because the circumstances changed, but because I wasn't carrying them alone anymore. That's the miracle of those 5 minutes. They don't erase the storms, they anchor you through them. When you surrender, you're not giving up, you're giving over. You're placing your burdens into hands far stronger than your own, hands that shape the mountains and calm the seas. And in that act, you find a strength you didn't know you had, a courage born not of your own making, but of His unshakable faithfulness. Maybe you're wondering, what do I say? How do I surrender when I'm so overwhelmed I can barely think? Oh friend, you don't need a script. Your prayer can be as simple as a sigh, as raw as a cry, as quiet as a whisper. Lord, take this. Father, I need you. Jesus, I can't do this alone. That's enough. He doesn't measure your words, He searches your heart. And when you offer it to Him, cracked, bruised, or brimming with faith, He meets you right where you are. Think of David, the shepherd boy turned king, whose psalms spill over with every shade of human emotion. One moment he's praising God with uncontainable joy, the next he's weeping in the dust, begging for rescue. Yet through it all, he prays. He surrenders. My heart is in anguish within me, he cries in Psalm 55. But I call to God, and the Lord saves me. That's the rhythm of those 5 minutes. A cry, a release, a trust. And in that rhythm, you discover a miracle. God doesn't just hear you, He holds you. Surrender rewires your spirit. It takes your gaze off the chaos and fixes it on the one who commands it. In those 5 minutes, you're not just asking for help, you're declaring your dependence. You're saying, Lord, I believe you're bigger than this. I believe you're working even when I can't see it. And that belief, it's a seed. Planted in the soil of your morning prayer, it grows into a faith that can weather any season. So as you sit there tomorrow morning, maybe with the birds singing outside or the hum of a waking house around you, don't just pray to get through the day. Pray to let God carry it. Surrender the meeting that's gnawing your stomach, the child who's drifting away, the dream that feels out of reach. Lay it all at His feet and watch what happens. The miracle isn't always in the instant fix. It's in the steady peace that settles over you, the quiet assurance that you're not fighting alone. 5 minutes. That's all it takes to shift the trajectory of your day, to trade anxiety for trust, fear for faith, despair for hope. Because when you surrender, you're not handing over your power. You're stepping into His, and there, in the shadow of His wings, you find the strength to rise, to face whatever comes, knowing the God who holds the universe is holding you too. You've surrendered. You've opened your heart in those 5 precious minutes, laying your burdens at His feet. The morning stillness lingers around you, and as you rise, perhaps a little hesitant, perhaps a little hopeful, you carry something new. It's not just a fleeting feeling, it's a quiet power, a steady flame kindled in the presence of God. Those 5 minutes don't end when you say Amen. They stretch forward, weaving their miracle into every hour of your day. Imagine stepping into the world with a shield, not one forged of steel, but of faith. That's what those 5 minutes become, a shield against the arrows life hurls your way, the harsh words from a coworker, the unexpected bill in the mail, the ache of a dream deferred. They still come, but they don't pierce as deeply. Why? Because you've already stood in the presence of the one who sees it all, who knows it all, who promises, I am with you always. In those 5 minutes, you've wrapped yourself in His truth, and it holds you steady when the ground beneath you shakes. I've seen it in my own life, those days when everything seemed poised to unravel. A morning not long ago comes to mind. A day when the news was grim, my energy was spent, and my spirit felt like a candle flickering in the wind. But I'd prayed those 5 minutes. I'd whispered, Lord, I don't know how I'll make it through today, but I trust you. And as the hours unfolded, I felt it. A strength that wasn't mine, a peace that defied logic. The problems didn't vanish, but they didn't define me. Those 5 minutes had transformed my day, turning chaos into a canvas for God's grace. That's the miracle. Prayer doesn't just prepare you for the day, it redefines it. It becomes your compass, pointing you back to Him when the path grows blurry. You're in the middle of a heated argument, and suddenly, a whisper rises from those morning moments, peace, be still. You're staring at a deadline you can't meet, and a quiet assurance echoes, my grace is sufficient. Those 5 minutes don't stay locked in the dawn. They walk with you. A living reminder that God's love is your constant companion. Think of the disciples, tossed about on a stormy sea, their boat battered by waves they couldn't control. Jesus was asleep and they were terrified, but when they cried out to Him, He rose, spoke, and the storm obeyed. Your 5 minutes are your cry, your Lord, save me, and His response is just as real. He may not still every storm around you, but He calms the one within you. And that calm, it changes everything. It turns a day of dread into a day of dependence, a day of fear into a day of faith. But here's where the transformation deepens. Those 5 minutes don't just shield you, they shine through you. When you've spent even a fleeting moment in God's presence, it spills over. The way you smile at a stranger, the patience you muster for a difficult child, the hope you cling to when others despair. It's all tinted by that morning prayer. People notice, they feel it. What's different about you, they might ask, even if only with their eyes. And the answer is simple. You've started your day with the one who holds it all together. Maybe you're reading this and thinking, but some days are too dark. Some burdens are too heavy. Oh, I hear you. I've had mornings where the weight of grief pinned me to the bed, where 5 minutes felt like an eternity. I didn't have the strength to give. But even then, even in the shadows, those 5 minutes are a lifeline. You don't have to feel strong to pray. You just have to show up. A broken "Help me, Lord" is as powerful as a soaring hymn, and in that fragile offering, God moves. He lifts you, step by trembling step, until the day you thought you couldn't face becomes a testament to His mercy. Picture it now, the sun climbing higher, the rhythm of your day picking up speed. You're not the same person who woke up heavy-hearted. Those 5 minutes have worked their quiet miracle, threading hope through your hours. The meeting you dreaded, you walk in with a peace that steadies your voice. The silence of a lonely afternoon, it's filled with the echo of His promise. The exhaustion that creeps in at dusk, it's met with a gratitude that whispers, "Thank you, Lord, for carrying me through." This is the transformation, a day no longer ruled by circumstance, but by the one who reigns over it all. 5 minutes of prayer don't make you invincible, they make you anchored. They don't erase the trials, they equip you to rise above them. And as the day fades, you look back and see it, the fingerprints of God pressed into every moment because you began it with Him. And so here we are, at the edge of something beautiful, something sacred. You've walked with me through the quiet dawn, felt the release of surrender, and seen how 5 minutes can ripple through a day, transforming it with the tender touch of God's presence. But this isn't just a story to read and set aside. It's an invitation, a gentle, urgent call to step into a miracle that's waiting for you every single morning. Those 5 minutes aren't a burden or a rule to follow. They're a gift. A chance to begin again, to lift your eyes above the chaos, to root yourself in the one who never lets go. Maybe you've never prayed like this before, or maybe you've drifted from it, caught in the rush of life. Wherever you stand, hear this. God isn't waiting for you to be perfect. He's waiting for you to be present. 5 minutes, that's all He asks. 5 minutes to whisper your heart, to rest in His love, to trust Him with everything you carry. I think of the countless mornings I've stumbled into this practice. Some with joy, some with tears, some with nothing but a weary, "Lord, I'm here." And every time He meets me. Not with judgment, not with demands, but with a grace that wraps around me like a warm embrace. I've seen Him turn my despair into hope, my fear into courage, my ordinary days into testimonies of His faithfulness. And I know this, He longs to do the same for you. So why not start tomorrow? Right now, as the words settle into your soul, let them stir something bold within you. Picture it. The alarm hums, the world is still asleep, and you carve out those 5 minutes. You don't need a cathedral or a prayer book, just you, your heart, and the God who's been waiting to hear your voice. Speak to Him as you would a friend. Tell Him your fears, your dreams, your gratitude, or simply sit in silence, letting His presence wash over you. There's no wrong way to begin, only the beauty of showing up. And when the days get hard, because they will, don't let go of those 5 minutes. When the diagnosis comes, when the job falls through, when the silence of loss deafens you, cling to them. They'll be your anchor, your lifeline, your reminder that no darkness is too deep for God's light to reach. I've watched Him carry me through seasons I thought would break me, all because I started my day with Him. He'll carry you too, He promises it. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, He says, and I will give you rest. 5 minutes is your come. His rest is your miracle. This isn't just about one day. It's about a lifetime. A lifetime of mornings where you choose faith over fear, trust over turmoil, Him over everything else. Those 5 minutes will grow roots, threading their way into your spirit until you can't imagine starting a day without them. They'll shape you, not into someone who never falters, but into someone who knows where to turn when they do. And as the years unfold, you'll look back and see a tapestry of grace. Each thread a morning you gave to Him, each knot a moment He carried you through. So take this invitation, dear friend. Take it with both hands and a trembling heart. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to be strong or certain or whole. You just have to begin. 5 minutes of prayer. A small, brave step into the arms of a God who loves you beyond measure. A miracle disguised as a moment, waiting to unfold in your life. Tomorrow morning, when the world is quiet and the day is new, let it be the start. Whisper, Lord, I'm here. Surrender your worries, let His peace transform you, and step into the day with the unshakable truth that you are never alone. 5 minutes can change your day. A lifetime of 5 minutes can change your soul. Trust Him. Begin. And watch the miracles unfold, one morning at a time.